The helicopter landed in the middle of the high school football field just as everyone was laughing about the girl they used to call the class loser. For 10 years, they had remembered Lily Parker as the awkward girl who ate lunch alone, wore hand-me-down clothes, and apologized whenever she spoke too loudly. They remembered her failing chemistry. They remembered her thrift store backpack. They remembered the day someone dumped a carton of chocolate milk over her head in the cafeteria, and how the entire table had erupted in laughter while Lily stood there, trembling, trying not to cry. What they didn't remember was what happened afterward. They didn't remember the girl who had quietly cleaned the mess off the floor so the janitor wouldn't have to. They didn't remember Lily staying after school to help a new student find the right bus. They didn't remember that when her classmate Marcus lost his mother, Lily was the only person who sat beside him at lunch for 3 straight weeks without asking him to talk. And they certainly didn't remember the old cafeteria worker Lily had spent an entire summer visiting after he suffered a stroke. But Lily remembered. She remembered everything. And now, 10 years later, she was stepping out of a helicopter in a simple cream-colored dress while 36 former classmates stared at her like they were seeing a ghost. The reunion committee had chosen the football field because the school building was being renovated. They had decorated the bleachers with gold balloons and a giant banner that read, "Welcome, Class of 2016. At the center of the field stood a long table covered with white cloth. Around it stood people Lily hadn't seen since graduation. People who had once made her life miserable. The helicopter blades slowed. The chatter died. Lily stepped onto the grass. For a moment, nobody moved. Then someone whispered, "Is that really Lily?" Another voice answered, "No way." Lily smiled politely. "Hi." Her former classmate Tyler Brooks stared at the helicopter. "Are you a pilot?" Lily laughed softly. "No." "Then whose helicopter is that?" "Mine." The silence became almost painful. Lily watched their faces change. Tyler's mouth fell open. Rachel Simmons, who had once called Lily Parker the loser, looked Lily up and down. "You own a helicopter?" "I do." "Why?" Lily shrugged. "It's useful for work." That answer somehow made things worse. Their reunion organizer, Megan, hurried toward her. "Lily. Oh my gosh. You came." "I said I would." Megan glanced nervously toward the helicopter. "Wow. You look amazing." "Thank you." There was an awkward pause. Then Megan smiled. "I'm really glad you came. We were just talking about old times." Lily looked at the group. She knew exactly what they had been talking about, because she had seen the private reunion group chat. Someone had posted an old yearbook photograph of Lily. Underneath it, Tyler had written, "Wonder if she still lives in her parents' basement." Rachel replied, "Maybe we should invite her. This could be hilarious." Someone else added, "Imagine if she actually shows up." They had invited her to mock her. Lily knew. She had known for weeks. But she came anyway. Not to prove she was better than them. Not to humiliate them. She came because she had learned something they hadn't. Success meant very little if you used it only to make other people feel small. The first hour was uncomfortable. People asked Lily what she did. She explained that she had founded a medical transportation company that used helicopters and small aircraft to transport patients from rural communities to hospitals. Basically, she said, we help people get medical care when distance would otherwise make it impossible. Rachel raised an eyebrow. So you're a doctor? No. Then what exactly do you do? I run the company. Tyler nearly choked on his drink. You own the company? Yes. What's it called? Parker Medical Air. Megan immediately pulled out her phone. Wait. I've heard of that. Lily smiled. We operate in several states now. Tyler stared at her. How did you go from failing chemistry to owning a medical aviation company? Lily's smile faded slightly. I didn't. What? I went from failing chemistry to learning how to ask for help. Nobody laughed. Lily continued. I was terrible at chemistry. But my teacher, Mr. Reynolds, stayed after school with me 3 days a week. He told me failing one class didn't mean I was stupid. She looked toward the old school building. He was the first teacher who made me believe that. A voice from behind her spoke. He was the best. Lily turned. It was Marcus. He had been quiet all evening. Marcus had been the boy whose mother died when they were juniors. Lily remembered sitting beside him while he cried into his lunch tray. Now he was wearing a firefighter's uniform. Marcus, Lily said. He smiled. Good to see you. You too. They hugged. Then Marcus looked at the helicopter. Still helping people, huh? Lily laughed. Still trying. Marcus looked at the others. She helped me when nobody else did. Lily immediately shook her head. You don't have to. Yes, I do. The room went quiet. Marcus swallowed. When my mom died, I didn't want anyone around me. Lily didn't force me to talk. She just sat there. Every day. He looked at Lily. You were 15 years old. And you somehow understood that sometimes people don't need advice. They just need somebody to stay. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Marcus continued. That was the reason I became a firefighter. Someone asked quietly, what does that have to do with Lily? Marcus smiled. Everything. Then came the first unexpected turn. A teacher approached from the edge of the field. Lily froze. It was Mr. Reynolds. He was older now, his hair almost completely gray. Lily rushed toward him. Mr. Reynolds. They hugged tightly. I knew you'd come, he said. You knew. He nodded. Lily told me about the reunion. Everyone looked at Lily. You invited him. I asked him to come. Why? Lily glanced around. Because I wanted him to see what happened to that girl he refused to give up on. Mr. Reynolds wiped his eyes. I didn't do much. You did everything. The class became silent. Then Mr. Reynolds said something that changed the entire mood. Actually, Lily did more for this school than most of you know. He turned toward the crowd. After graduation, she came back every month. She paid for tutoring for students who couldn't afford it. She bought winter coats. She donated school supplies. She even paid for the cafeteria to replace the old refrigerators. Rachel's face went pale. You did all that. Lily shrugged. It wasn't a big deal. It was to us, Mr. Reynolds said. Tyler stared at the ground. Then Lily noticed something. A small boy was standing near the entrance of the field. He looked about 10. He was holding a crumpled piece of paper. Lily walked over. Hey. Are you okay? The boy nodded. I'm here with my mom. What's your name? Evan. Nice to meet you, Evan. He looked at the helicopter. Is that yours? Yes. His eyes widened. Are you rich? A few people laughed. Lily smiled. I'm comfortable. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do rich people get sad? Lily's smile disappeared. She crouched down. Everybody gets sad. Even you. Especially me sometimes. Evan looked at the paper. My dad is sick. Lily noticed the hospital logo printed at the top. What happened? He has cancer. My mom says the hospital is 3 hours away. Lily looked at his mother. The woman stood frozen near the fence. She had apparently come to pick Evan up. Lily walked toward her. I'm sorry. What's your husband's name? The woman hesitated. Daniel. Where is he being treated? She told Lily. Lily pulled out her phone. Then she called someone. "Hi, this is Lily. I need a flight arranged tonight." Everyone watched. Patient transfer. Pediatric oncology. No, adult. Yes. Rural pickup. She listened. "Whatever paperwork is required, I'll cover it." The woman began shaking her head. "No, please. We can't afford." Lily stepped closer. "You don't have to." The woman stared at her. "Why?" Lily looked toward the helicopter. "Because 10 years ago, I needed someone to stay." The woman started crying. Lily put an arm around her. "And somebody stayed." The reunion was completely silent now. There was no laughter. No jokes. No whispers about Lily's clothes or grades. Only people watching a woman who had every reason to become bitter. Choose kindness instead. Then Tyler stepped forward. His face was red. "Lily." She turned. He looked like the same boy from high school. Except there was no confidence left in his expression. "I owe you an apology." Lily didn't respond. "I wrote that message in the group chat." Rachel looked at him. "Tyler." "No. She deserves to know." He took a breath. "I thought inviting you would be funny." Lily nodded. "I know." His eyes dropped. "I was jealous." That surprised her. "Of me?" "Yes." Tyler laughed bitterly. "You were always kind. Even when people were horrible to you. I didn't understand it. I thought being cruel made you strong." Lily looked at him for a long moment. "Did it?" "No." He swallowed. "It made me lonely." Lily stepped forward. Then she did something nobody expected. She hugged him. Tyler broke down. Not a little. Completely. He cried into her shoulder like a child who had finally admitted he was tired. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Lily closed her eyes. "I forgive you." Across the field, Rachel was crying too. One by one, people approached Lily. Some apologized. Some simply hugged her. Others told her stories she never knew, that she had inspired them. That they remembered her kindness. That they had wondered what became of her. Lily didn't tell them. How many nights she had gone home from school wondering the same thing about herself. She didn't tell them how hard she had worked to believe that being rejected didn't mean being worthless. She didn't tell them about the scholarships she earned, the company she built, or the countless patients her aircraft had carried. Because none of that was the point. Before Lily left, Mr. Reynolds asked her to say something to the class. She looked at the faces around her. "I used to think this reunion would be about proving everyone wrong." She paused. "But I don't want that anymore." Her voice softened. "I spent a lot of years thinking success meant becoming someone nobody could laugh at again." She looked at Tyler. "Then I realized success isn't about making people regret hurting you." She glanced at Marcus. "It's about becoming the person you once needed." Nobody spoke. Lily continued. "If someone is sitting alone, sit beside them. If someone is struggling, help them. If somebody fails, don't make their failure their identity." She smiled through tears. Because you never know what somebody is carrying. And you never know who they're going to become. The helicopter waited behind her. But Lily didn't feel like leaving yet. For the first time, the class of 2016 wasn't divided into popular kids and losers. There were simply people. People who had made mistakes. People who had been hurt. People who had grown. And people who still had time to become better. As Lily finally walked toward the helicopter, Evan ran after her. "Lily." She turned. He held up the crumpled paper. "Can I come see your helicopter?" Lily smiled. "Absolutely." He climbed the steps beside her, his face glowing. Before the door closed, Lily looked back at her former classmates. She didn't see enemies anymore. She saw unfinished stories. And perhaps that was the greatest lesson of all. The girl they had invited to the reunion as a joke had arrived by helicopter. But she didn't leave them feeling small. She left them with something far more valuable. A reason to be kinder tomorrow than they had been yesterday.